Hello there, and welcome back to Inside the Vault, episode number 95, a Carolina Panthers podcast. I am your host, Ryan Smith, and tonight with me to help preview the New Orleans Saints coming to Charlotte for Sunday's game at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Let's welcome the host of the State of the Saints podcast, also catching him sports talk on Bleacher Report as well. He is a member of the National Association of Black Journalists and college football analyst as well. Welcome to the show, TJ Jones. TJ, how's it going, buddy?
Hey Ryan, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Let's get into it. We'll start kind of peripheral and work our way in. New Orleans Saints, as you know, not the best record as of now in 2025, but just talk about the season as a whole so far for New Orleans. And obviously, we just had the trade deadline. There was a couple of trades that New Orleans made. We can get into that if you like as well. But your overall thoughts on the New Orleans Saints, kind of the state of the team as of right now.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, Ryan. I mean, it's an unmitigated disaster right now. The Saints are 1-8. They're
I
going
think
through a
so.
rebuild. I mean,
Something like
I
that.
mean, look, I tell people all the time, I'm not one of those delusional Saints fans that just wave the pom poms. I mean, I'm realistic about where this team is. They're in a rebuild right now. I mean, you got a new head coach. You got young, inexperienced quarterbacks. You got a roster that's not necessarily that good when you look at the rest of the NFL when it comes to the depth, and they're trying to figure it out. And 1-8 is where I think a lot of people may not have thought they would be, but I think that some would think that they would have been in that in that stratosphere. Like they're just trying to figure it out. I mean, we got Tyler Shuck. He's going to be having his second start against Carolina this Sunday. Spencer Rattler started the beginning of the season. They're just trying to figure out what they have. And as far as the trade deadline, when you are a team that is trying to rebuild, when you're trying to, I guess like restructure the foundation of your home, so to speak, you got to make some tough decisions. And, Rashid Shaheed being on the move, being traded to the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, this is a guy who was dynamic for the New Orleans Saints, all pro as a special teamer, and a really big down the field threat. But he was an undrafted guy, and you were able to get two draft picks for him. So, you took a flyer on him, and you got a really good return on your investment. And also, as far as Trevor Penning, he was a former first round pick back in 2022 for the Saints. Never really panned out. You hate to use the B word when you talk about a certain guy, but he was a bust. I mean, you think about investing a first round pick in a guy. They moved him around. He started off at left tackle. Then they moved him to the right, and then they moved him to guard finally, and nothing really panned out. So they shipped him out and got what they could for him because they knew they weren't going to pay him. They didn't pick up his fifth year option, and the writing was pretty much on the wall. So the Saints in 2025, I mean, they've been a disaster. I mean, it's unwatchable football. Any Saints fan that's logical will tell you that. But at the end of the day, I mean, you have to take your lumps and your bumps on your way to try to play some relevant football. So hopefully these troubles won't last as long. But as of right now, they're just not in a good place as an organization and franchise right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Rashid Shaheed, who you just mentioned, I really enjoyed watching him as even though I cheer and content creator for the Panthers, but very good player, great speed. Obviously number two receiver there, obviously in New Orleans, now in Seattle, but enjoyed watching him definitely in his time in New Orleans. And obviously, Carolina and New Orleans have this special rivalry, if you will. A lot of our listeners know I was down there in New Orleans last year for the debacle that was Game One of
Mhm.
2024 with Bryce Young getting benched didn't little did we know at the time Derek Carr's last season opener in New Orleans, and it just you look back 365 days later and it's just like those two teams are completely different now.
Right.
So yeah, I know this. I mean, and then you have the Saints Panthers rivalries gone back obviously a number of years. Roman Harper, Steve Smith. Then Roman Harper comes to Carolina. You've got Drew Brees. You've got Aaron Brooks. I mean, so many quarterbacks that have played for the Saints, and obviously against the Panthers, who have done notably well. Jake Delhomme, could we all forget
Right.
that one? Obviously,
Right.
yeah. So and it's funny because Panther fans, I think, would tell you the Falcons are their most hated rival. I think in the division of the three, and if I had to I'm just gonna say it. I think the Saints are right up there with the Falcons. I think the Bucks, for some reason, don't get that kind of hate for whatever reason. It's always
And,
been the Falcons, and really close second is the Saints, right? Kind of
right.
right there. Carolina and New Orleans just don't like each other. That's just a fact. But it's exciting to see this Panthers team, I think, figure it out and learn how to win in different ways this season. I think that's my biggest takeaway so far. You've got um, a couple of blowout losses, sure, but they are AFC side of the football. You won a close game on the road in Green Bay, a completely different way to win. A shootout in Charlotte versus Dallas. Miami, you had to come back from 17 down, and Atlanta was just a bulldozer. So it's like different ways to win for Carolina Panthers, and that's good to see. They're 5-4, but we all know they're not a finished product. Obviously, there's a lot to go there as we get into the second half of the season. So for the New Orleans Saints, before we kind of get into the key players to watch and kind of break down this matchup, you mentioned Tyler Shuck, who will be getting his second start for the New Orleans Saints. I personally like to believe that, I was a big Spencer Rattler fan coming out of college, and I am wearing my Florida Gators shirt, so I am not a South Carolina fan. I
Right.
just thought Spencer Rattler was a decent quarterback at Oklahoma and also
Right.
at South Carolina. Do you think he's done in New Orleans? I know Tyler Shuck currently has the job. Is he going to get a very small rope, or is Rattler, do you think, going to get back in there if Shuck does continue to struggle maybe for the last 4 or 5 games to see what he can do before the end of the year?
Well, I am going to answer your question, but I do want to
Yeah,
comment on something you said about your Carolina Panthers.
yeah.
I like the way that the Carolina Panthers are structured. I just think that in this landscape of the modern day NFL, people want a finished product when it comes to the quarterback position right away. They don't want to wait and allow guys to develop. And if you look around the National Football League right now, Ryan, you look at guys like Daniel Jones, you look at Baker Mayfield. You look at what Sam Darnold is doing out there in Seattle. Like these guys weren't finished products. Like as soon as they came out of college, it took a while for them to be able to find their footing. And I'm just glad that Bryce Young, is starting to find his groove as a quarterback. And and you all have been in kind of the same boat that the Saints are starting to do as of right now as a building a structural team. It's going to take some time. And some of the wins and losses that Carolina has had, I mean, that's just going to come with the territory. But it's about learning from the mistakes. And, you lose to Buffalo, but you come right back and beat a very credible Green Bay Packers team. So that tells me
In
that
Lambeau.
yeah, excuse, yeah. So you end up like growing, right before everyone's eyes. To be honest with you. So I think that the Carolina Panthers are on their way. I actually had them when I was doing predictions to be second in the division. So I mean, I kind
So
of
did I.
felt that they were going to be pretty credible. But back to your Spencer Rattler question, I think it all depends on how Tyler Shuck performs over the next 8 weeks. This is honestly, man, this is a litmus test for Tyler Shuck. I mean, you look at the New Orleans Saints, and as of right now, if the season ended, they would have the number one overall pick.
Mhm.
So if you don't have the right quarterback in the building, rather it's Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck, you have an opportunity to draft maybe possibly the future of your franchise in 2026. So
Yeah.
this is the evaluation process for him to be able to step up. And if he does pass the test, and the Saints feel like they can actually make something out of him and build something around him, then it's a plus. And unfortunately, that would mean that Spencer Rattler would be a casualty. Spencer Rattler wasn't a part of this previous regime, even though he won the quarterback battle this past offseason leading to the regular season. So the Saints probably will try to find ways to trade him. And there will be some trade value for a guy like Spencer Rattler. I mean, he didn't win you too many games, but he didn't cost you too many games as well. And you have teams that are going to evaluate that and feel like maybe you surround Spencer Rattler with a little bit more talent, then maybe his talents would shine through more so than what it did with the Saints. But it's really all up to Tyler Shuck and how he performs these next 8 weeks. If he performs well, then you have the future of your franchise. If not, then you will be doing what so many other teams do. Like you pick a quarterback, doesn't pan out, go right back into the draft and try to do it again until you get it right.
Yeah, I think what you just said there at the end was key, and unfortunately, it's not fair. A guy like Spencer Rattler, you'd love to see what he could do with a little bit more talent around him. That's why the Panthers went and got Tedoroa McMillan for Bryce Young to be that number one overall receiver. Xavier Legette, a really good number two. Jalen Coker, undrafted free agent, who's going to be, I think, a really good number three. Could maybe even pass Legette at number two by the end of the year if he plays well. Yeah, so that's just unfortunately part of the business, and we you know that obviously, but
Right.
it's an unfortunate thing as well. But let's get into this Charlotte matchup on Sunday, Saints Panthers. We'll drill down more specifically into the game. We'll start with keys to victory for the. We'll go offensive side of the ball first for New Orleans, so defensively for Carolina. So for me with the Panthers. It stopped the run. Derek Brown, who was playing at an all-pro level, if he was in a bigger conference and a bigger team beside a market than Charlotte, he'd get a lot more recognition. But that's neither here or there. Stopping the run for the Panthers has got to be my key number one on defense, and can't force Tyler Shuck to beat you over the top with J.C. Horn shutting down Chris Olave and basically allowing him to find somebody else to beat us with. So my first key is stopping the run and making Shuck one-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think you will have an issue with that. I mean, if you look at the Saints, I mean, they haven't been running the ball very effectively lately. Alvin Kamara pretty much has been a non-factor. And, since Kendre Miller is out for the season with a torn ACL, you
Mhm.
got rookie Devin Neal, the sixth-round pick, came out of Kansas. He's been serving as the backup. And it just doesn't seem like the running game has really been an integral part of this offense in any way, shape, or form. And to be honest with you, offenses of the opposing team have been able to jump on the Saints pretty early, which caused them to be one dimensional. So if you're talking about keys to victory, in my opinion, it would have to be the New Orleans Saints getting stops and being able to get off the field on third down. Last week versus the Rams, I mean, they could not do that. I mean, they controlled the time of possession. I'm talking the Rams, 43 minutes to 16. So if the Carolina Panthers can stay on the field, it's going to be pretty tough for the New Orleans Saints offense to be effective. You got to be able to have a balance. And if you don't, then you become one dimensional. All teams have to do is basically pin their ears back. And like you say, we have J.C. Horn and the rest of that secondary out there in Carolina. I mean, they'll be able to just try to neutralize these guys. This isn't murderous row that this secondary is going up against. I mean, you got Chris Olave, but you don't really have too many I guess really two skilled players out there that's going to go out there and make plays consistently. There's a lot of guys out there trying to figure things out. So to me, it would just have to be the New Orleans Saints, trying to get off the field, on third down. If not, then it's going to be a tough game, and Tyler Shuck is going to have to try to throw 30, 40 times, and that's not what you want from a young, inexperienced quarterback.
Yeah. So on defense, get off the field on third down. Okay. Juwan Johnson is going to be my key for the Panthers on defense, though, at the end of the day, because the Panthers cannot cover tight end to save their life. So Juwan Johnson is probably somebody who Shuck's going to want to target if he wants to try to do anything on offense on Sunday. That's my hat tip to him. If he probably can already see that on film. Um, on the other side of the ball for the Panthers on offense, I think it's start fast. I mean, that's really, like you just said, opponents getting up early on the Saints. Bryce Young establishing the play action after hit him with the Rico, and as we know, Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle with a strong running game. And this offensive line now, it's Robert Hunt is the original right guard for this team, Pro Bowl right guard, out for the year, most likely with a biceps tear. The second string guard, Brady Christensen, tore his Achilles. He's out for the year. Third stringer Chandler Zavala just came back from IR. He had an elbow injury in the Packers game, so he's gonna probably miss this game at least. So really, you're on your fourth right guard starting. Which thankfully the Panthers, though, they brought back their last, I believe it was nine offensive linemen last year. That's you're starting five and four reserves. Only one of those reserves is currently out for the year, Brady Christensen. So you still have three other reserves that are in the board in the on the bench, so you speak. Can't think of the word there. So Austin Corbett will most likely start at right guard, former center for the Panthers, but right guard is his natural position that he played for the Cleveland Browns and the LA Rams when he won a Super Bowl back in 2021. So, despite all the makeshift, it was a seventh offensive line combination in the Packers game last week. Somehow this team is still able to run the football consistently, whether that's behind Rico Dowdle, behind Chuba Hubbard. And Bryce Young, some games he has to air it out like he did against Dallas, and some games like Green Bay, he has 102 yards passing and no touchdowns. So, doing what you can to win, and whatever it takes at the end of the day. And I think what most Panther, and I like to ask you this from a opposing team's perspective. I don't know if you've gotten the chance to, you talked about Bryce coming back from his benching, obviously last year. What is your overall long-term thoughts on Bryce Young as a quarterback? Because a lot of people think Bryce has these limitations, which I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't, but um, the guy is an assassin on the field when it comes to whatever reason in the last 3 minutes of the ball game, whether trailing or tied, or even if they've had the lead. He has now 9 game-winning drives since 2023 entering the league. That is tied with Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts for most of the league. It's like he turns into Tom Brady when in the last 3 minutes of the game. And so, your thoughts on Bryce Young, not just kind of this year as he plays out the third of his fifth-year contract, but just kind of beyond as a Panthers quarterback. Can that be franchise quarterback, or can he be what is our former quarterback Cam Newton like to call it, a game manager? Thoughts on Bryce Young?
Well, my thoughts on Bryce Young, I just think that, he's a guy who is trying to figure out how to be a franchise NFL quarterback. And it goes back to what I said originally. People want a finished product. They want instant gratification.
Hmm.
And when you think about Bryce Young, I mean, he was the first overall pick. And, his first season, he was compared to CJ Stroud, who had an incredible rookie season, right? Because everybody was, saying, well, the Panthers made a mistake. Look what CJ Stroud is doing out there in Houston. So he can compare to him instantly. And, fair or unfair, that's just the breaks. But I just think that he just needs to find his groove. And, I just think that every single year, it seems like he gets better. And I think that benching, really helped him. Because here's the thing I want Carolina Panthers fans to understand. When a quarterback gets benched, that's like the team saying you're not good enough right now, or you're not good enough, period. Right? And you can do two things. You can rise to the occasion and, try to become a better version of yourself, or you can do what so many other quarterbacks do when they do fail, just fall off the face of the earth. The fact that he was able to come and bounce back, and I want to say he had like 15 touchdowns. He completed like 67, 68% of his passes.
Correct.
Great touchdown to interception ratio. And then all of a sudden, like he looked like a really better version of himself. And then also, I always say the best friend of a young quarterback is a good running game and some good defense. And right now, the Carolina Panthers have a really good running game. It kind of reminds me of back in the day when they had Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. You had that really good 1-2 punch, and you got there with Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. So I just think that is helping him. And it's also allowing him to be able to go through the motions and not have to worry about putting a team on his back week after week. That is hard for a young quarterback to be able to actually accept and be able to go out there. I mean, you put everything on your back, and you may not be ready for that yet. And fans are only going to see the finished product. They're not going to understand the X's and O's like myself and you, Ryan. They're just looking at the product and what they see on the field. My quarterback is not making the plays. They're not understanding why, or maybe there are certain things around him that are not beneficial to his development. But I like Bryce Young. And I always tell people, I was like, Bryce Young is forever, in my heart, because I can remember being in Charlotte last year when Dennis Allen was the head coach. And that game, got Dennis Allen fired. So
It is the
Bryce
start
Young
of the
can
Bryce Reaper.
Bryce
Uh,
Young can Bryce Young can do no wrong for me. I'm just
so Carolina Reaper is what we like to call it here.
hey,
It started with like you said, Dennis Allen, and then it was Daniel Jones and remember the New York Giants,
right.
Atlanta last year getting Kirk Cousins benched,
Yep.
and then this year it was Zach Robinson, their offensive coordinator, or no, the wide receivers coach rather.
Hmm.
Fired. So, yeah, for whatever reason, eventually Chris Greer got fired after we beat Miami. Eventually down the road, so it's like at some point, somebody gets fired of some sort when they lose to Carolina. But I don't think the Packers are firing anybody right now. I mean,
No, no.
they're obviously a good team. So they just had a bad day at the office. Didn't play obviously their best, but. Yeah, it's exciting to see where the Panthers are at. Obviously, a real chance to be 6, maybe even 7-4 going into a Monday Night Football tilt with San Francisco, who's very beat up on defense here in a few weeks on Monday Night Football. What is your thoughts on before we get into the predictions and kind of ending the game specifically? Trade deadline. I mean, we talked about Rashid a little bit for the Saints. Trevor Penning, left guard for the Saints, out to San Diego,
Los
L.A.
Angeles. Yeah.
rather. It used to be San Diego, L.A.
Yeah.
Chargers. Is that somebody the Panther fans should know a lot about? I know Trevor Penning started at left tackle. He started at center. He started at left guard. He was a rotating door there on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Someone who's now been shipped out. Is that somebody who was kind of still in the Saints' plans, or was he still starting? What was he do with him?
Nah, he was terrible, man. I mean, absolute bust. Like I said, he was drafted in 2022 by the Saints, and it just never really panned out. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the New Orleans Saints basically traded him for a bag of Cheetos. I mean,
Yeah,
they got like a 6th round pick in 2027 for him. So look, man, the New Orleans Saints offensive line, they have invested so much capital into their offensive line. I mean, you got 1st round picks all over the line, and it just hasn't panned out. I mean, Calvin Banks, they drafted this past draft. He looks like the part. Talese Fuaga, who is not going to be playing in this game, he's dealing with a high ankle sprain. He looks pretty credible as a right tackle when he's healthy. You have Eric McCoy's out for the season. I mean, he's one of the best centers in the game when he's
he is
out
good.
there.
Yeah.
Cesar Ruiz, not very good. I would be, well, I wouldn't be shocked if the New Orleans Saints move on from him. That interior is terrible for the New Orleans Saints. And like I said, they invested a lot of capital in it. And Trevor Penning was supposed to be a part of their plans, being that left tackle, to replace Teron Armstead when he went to Miami. It just didn't pan out. And, like I said, they just got what they could for him. I mean, it just never panned out. I hate to use the word bust, but you have no choice when you're talking about Trevor Penn. It just didn't work, man.
I will say though, before I say a little bit more about the trade deadline, New Orleans, like I said, I was there last year in the season opener for the Panthers Saints last year down there in the Superdome. I know the Saints don't have the history necessarily of the. I know, correct me if I'm wrong. Have been some losing seasons, yes, but Detroit's of the world, Cleveland's of the world. Those Saints fans are very dedicated and very loyal. They will pack the Superdome no matter what the record is, no matter how the team is doing. I really enjoyed the atmosphere down there when I was there last year and seeing the passionate Saint fan base and. Obviously, the good eating down there in the French Quarter and the food and the drinks obviously are flowing. But yeah, I really enjoyed the atmosphere there, and I think it's a really tough place to play, no matter how good the team is doing or bad the team is. The fans of New Orleans are always going to bring it and make it for a tough atmosphere when you're playing in the Superdome.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would agree with everything you're saying. I mean, it used to be, but here's the thing: like Saints fans are fed up with this product that they're watching week after week because the Saints fans feels like this could have been avoided. I mean, you had Mickey Loomis, who is the general manager of the New Orleans Saints, has made some terrible, egregious decisions with bad draft picks, mismanaging of the cap, keeping players way too long. and giving players like that have been with the team for a long time that are past their primes contract extensions like it's a lifetime achievement award. You know, like you knew Drew Brees wasn't going to play forever. I mean, you look at the twilight of Drew Brees' career. Drew Brees had to leave the field if the Saints were going to throw the ball 20 plus yards. You know, so that should have told you right there that you should have had a succession plan in place. And the New Orleans Saints didn't. So, you know, people are tired of watching this product. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, they said 70,000 people were in the Superdome in their last home game. But, you know, anybody that was there would tell you it wasn't. It wasn't 70,000 people. It just is false sense of reality that the front office of the New Orleans Saints have. And people are just kind of fed up with it, man. And I just think the morale of the Saints fans right now is extremely low. I mean, they love their team. They're going to stay committed, but they rather stay committed at their house instead of investing their hard-earned dollars going to a stadium or a dome rather, and cheer for a team that they know isn't the best. And it doesn't seem like the front office is doing their best in order to try to make that thing happen. If they were, then we'll probably see some different names and faces in the front office. But the Saints organization have this little buddy buddy thing going where they're more committed to relationships than they're committed to winning right now, Ryan. And so that whole dome field advantage, Superdome rocking type thing. I mean that's kind of passe right now. And as long as the product is as unwatchable as it is, I think that you're going to see more of the same.
Yeah. Um, Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, Taysom Hill. Those three players, for whatever reason, have always been a thorn in Carolina's side. I have no doubt we're going to see some Taysom Hill now that he's healthy on the field on Sunday in Charlotte. Cam Jordan loves to talk about sacking little Bryce Young, and Demario Davis being on the Jets and now on the Saints. It seems like forever ago now that he got traded from the Jets to the Saints. Those two guys have been unbelievable for the Saints over the years, and it's a wonder why they're obviously not haven't been traded somewhere along the line. Speaks to their loyalty, obviously there in New Orleans, but um, on Sunday as we kind of wind down here, I'll get more into the trade deadline here in a second. Um, how do you have a prediction for Sunday? Do you think you can do a betting total over under whatever you want to give me? I'm going to say something like 24-14, maybe Carolina, something like that. Since the Carolinas at home, first game they've been favored in this whole season.
Yeah.
TJ, I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I wasn't aware of that, but you know, I do have the Saints winning, believe it or not. I mean, I said on a podcast I'm a part of called the NFC South Roundtable. It's probably gonna be the last game I actually pick the New Orleans Saints to win, and the only reason I'm picking them to win is because of the unpredictability you know of their wide receiver group. Like now that Rashid Shaheed is gone, it's more of a wide receiver by committee. And you know, you got a couple guys out there that haven't gotten opportunities to play and you know, make a name for themselves just yet. And I just think that it's going to pay dividends for it. And also I just think that it was just an uphill battle for Tyler Shuck last week going up against the Rams, who have a top five pass rush and just a Super Bowl contending football team. You know, that's just a tough you know, spot to be thrown into. Not you know, no disrespect to Carolina. I think that their defense is very formidable. I think the team is finding their stride. But I just think that when you think about divisional games, you have to throw the record out of the window. Everybody knows everybody. Like I always say, you know where the bodies are buried. You know who
yes.
you can exploit. You know who the guy you have to watch out for. So you gotta you know not look at the record. So I have the Saints winning. I do not feel that the New Orleans Saints are going to score 20 points. I think it's going to be like, you know, like maybe like 19 to 16 or something like that, you know, where, you know, I think that Rico Dotto is going to run, you know, for 100 yards. I think that, you know, you're going to see some sustainable drives, but I just think that maybe they're going to kind of bear down a little bit and maybe kick a few field goals in order to try to win. But, yeah, I just think that this is a game where I feel like, you know, they're probably going to end up splitting with Carolina, and this is the game I feel like they will win. So
Well, we'll see. Just that one loss at home for Carolina this season. That Buffalo Bills lost a few weeks ago. Otherwise, they've been perfect at home, including that first division game against Atlanta. So we will certainly see on Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern time from Bank of America Stadium. PG, as we wind down now, kind of big picture about the trade deadline. I know this is not Panthers Saints, but did you have any kind of overall thoughts on the trade deadline this year as an NFL fan? Obviously, I know you do Saints, but you're also an NFL podcast guy as well. So obviously, Sauce Gardner's of the world, Quentin Williams of the world, Logan Wilson. And then we had, unfortunately, the sad news today with Marshall Nealon with
Yeah.
the Cowboys. So,
Right.
any thoughts on the trade deadline as a whole? And obviously, our prayers and support go out to Marshawn Nealon's family as well.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, just sad stuff pertaining to Marshawn Neal, and may he rest in peace, and prayers go out to his family. No doubt about that. But as far as the trade deadline, I mean, I was kind of shocked at how much the Indianapolis Colts were willing to give to the Jets. For Sauce
New
Gardner.
ones, yeah.
Not to say that Sauce isn't a top corner. Of course, he is. Like he's definitely top five, but it just shows you that the Indianapolis Colts feel like they can actually win. They feel like they got a really good team, and you look around, I mean, they got one of the best offensive lines in football, one of the best running backs in football, and Jonathan Taylor, a really talented young receiver corps. And it just seemed like Daniel Jones has found, a spot that, I feel like that is right for him. And it's amazing what a good quarterback that can actually be serviceable can do because at the beginning of the season, I mean, Shane Steichen, the head coach of the Colts, I mean, we were talking about him possibly being fired, right? But now you look at this team, they feel like Sauce Gardner kind of shores them up, and if you feel like this is a guy that can actually help you get over the hump, by all means, you got to do it. The Dallas Cowboys, they went out and they got Quentin Williams, and they feel like he can go alongside Kenny Clark, maybe show up that defense. I mean, if you watch the game on Monday night, it's pretty obvious and pretty plain to see that the Dallas Cowboys defense is horrible. So you got to find ways in order for you to be a little bit more formidable. You got Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals as well. So I mean, teams are trying to get a little bit better. They feel like if they got a really good record, they may be a player away to try to shore up their spot in the division. Dallas, I still feel like they got a long ways to go when it comes to their defense. But adding Quentin Williams, a young 26, 27-year-old defensive tackle that can be your cornerstone player for years to come is a plus. I like the move. I like the aggressiveness of the trade deadline for quite a few teams. Jalen Phillips from Miami to the Philadelphia
Yep.
Eagles, who just always seem to find the right guys and never really satisfied, no matter if they're winning their division, top of the NFC. That is the type of team that is always going to be there. Why? Because they are aggressive and they are never content. And I think that's the recipe for success. So those are a few moves that I liked. Like I said, it's kind of shocked about the Colts move with Sauce Gardner, but
Yeah.
I thought that it was I thought if you feel like you're a Sauce Gardner away from getting close to the Super Bowl or winning the division, then you got to make the right move.
Yeah, and really what that tells you, without coming out and saying it publicly, is they are now committed to Daniel Jones. I expect that extension to be coming out here shortly. That because no first round pick next year, no first round pick the following year. And yeah, it's basically, and then Anthony Richardson probably will most likely get traded at some point, as
Yeah.
well. So, but yeah, TJ Jones has my guest today here on Inside the Vault, episode 95, as we preview Panthers Saints from Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium, 1 o'clock on Sunday. TJ, thanks so much for coming on. Give us your stuff. Give us a plug. What do you projects you're working on? The podcast our listeners should follow before we get you out of here.
Well, I am TJ Jones, host of the State of the Saints podcast. We talk Saints football, also State of the NFL. We talk about some of the hottest topics in the NFL. We do live watch along for primetime games. uh, NFC South Roundtable every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Me alongside Clay, my guy Berto, and my guy James, all represent teams in the NFC South. Clay is a representative of your
Yep,
Carolina
Panthers.
Panthers. Shouts
Yep.
out to Clay. But yeah, we have a good time over there. And also, if you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me on X at TJAY Jones 8. But most importantly, Ryan, just thank you so much for having me on the show, man. You could have picked anybody that represents the Saints or talk about Saints football. So I just appreciate you reaching out and just having me here, man. Thank you so much.
It's been our pleasure here, TJ, to have you on Inside the Vault, and I look forward to coming on your show down the road.
Yeah, man. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that'll wrap up episode number 95 of Inside the Vault, a Carolina Panthers podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and we will see you next time.